Yeah. And we are live, I think. I think we are live.
I believe in you. You got this.
Brother, it is so dope to finally have you on here. This is like almost a year in the making. So it was Saturday, the last day of the gathering of the Juggalos, and I
Hell
think
yeah.
this was the day, right, that you approached me.
Yeah, I think so. Sounds right. Next
So
to the porta potties, I think, where all the
yeah,
good things happen at the gathering.
big facts. It was next to the porta potties. Good memory.
Oh, I
So
remember the smell, brother.
it was the last day after all. So you basically told me that you had an experience, I believe, the night before, and that it was transformative. I think maybe was along the lines of how you described it then, and that you wanted to come on and you wanted to talk about it. And I was like, yeah, I'm down. That's the kind of stuff I want to do on here. So I guess I'll just jump right into it. What exactly happened?
All right. I believe I have to take it a little way back. A
Okay.
little
Let's do it.
Let's go back to the cafeteria, the lunch table, freshman year of high school, when I first really got a dose of ICP. I think the Wraiths Shangri-La had just come out. And loved the album. I was buying all the fucking merch, sitting at the table, talking to my friends, like, how awesome would it be to go to the gathering of the Juggalos? Just imagine not having a clue what the fuck it was at that point, even. Not even knowing what we were getting into, but just having these conversations. And, like, it's always kind of been a dream of mine. Then I kind of fell out of all the ICP, all the Juggalo stuff, all of that stuff for a long time. Never really thought about it. They were always kind of on the peripheral because I'm a wrestling fan, done a wrestling podcast. So I've always been into that stuff. The content they put out, the shoots they put out were always some of my favorites. So I've always known that they were intelligent guys. They knew what they were doing. They knew how to give to their fans. And they seemed like really like cool people. So now flash forward, I got a podcast doing all this nonsense. I'm on a podcast with my homie. And we're like, wouldn't it be cool to go to the gathering of the Juggalos? It's the cafeteria conversation all over again. It's like I'm a kid again. One of the audience members donates enough money to go to the gathering of the Juggalos and go on the Bigfoot hunt. So now full on fucking Christmas for me. I'm so ready. And I've been to festivals and like, that's my vibe, dude. That's my vibe. But little did I know going into this whole thing, how like transformative, as you said, how much it would be that. And like, I've known about the Dark Carnival, the Joker's cards, all of the metaphysics behind it all. I've been aware of that for a long time, but that really hit home when I was there. I'm on a strip of acid, I'm on this and that, doing God knows what the fuck, and things are feeling, real impactful.
Yeah, facts.
There's moments when now at the gathering, there's so much fucking going on. You don't even know where to begin. You don't know where do I want to look at this thing? Do I want to walk the fuck over here? Am I just going to walk in this fucking circle 10 goddamn times? One of the things I realized was that there's always like the next thing to go find, especially at 5 a.m. Things are winding down, but you're still fucking tweaking out. You're still looking for something. It's always this light in the distance. And you're always trying to get to the next thing. And you get there and you're like, all right, well, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? Yeah. And then you look around, you're like, I'm with all my homies. I feel fucking great. Like walking in this fucking circle, hanging out by these goddamn porta potties. Like this is the moment. That is what I live for, no matter how silly it is. Gets me thinking about like what it means to be a juggalo and all of this stuff. The question you asked so many times in your documentary. And to me, it's to be like the downtrodden, the bottom of a shoe. Now, the person wearing the shoe doesn't realize how important that shoe is. He made that shoe. He needs that shoe. But at the same time, he looks at it like a piece of crap. It's just, trudging through the mud or whatever the fuck. That's how the people at the top are. They don't realize how badly they need people like us, people to demonize.
Yes.
And we have to accept that role. That's what the clown makeup is about. I'm the jester. I'm the fucking court jester. You can look at me and you can feel better about yourself, not realizing that we have the fucking hottest party.
Yeah. And that's what's so fresh about being a juggalo is like, we know, you know what I mean? Like we know what we are. And and like it's like but we're having the freshest time, and it's like it almost makes it doper because it's like you know that you're sort of looked at in one way, but like it's really not that way. It's really kind of this other thing, and it's a fresh little secret in a way. I don't know, man. I have to say I really relate with what you said because similar trajectory. I was really into the clowns. I got out of them around Wraith, Shangri-La. The God thing threw me off. I was like, I have this weird relationship with God where I that's a whole nother thing we can maybe get into, but
you will.
I basically just didn't fuck with them too after the Wraith Shangri-La thing. I would dip in and check in with them. I never had seen them live though. I was too young to go to the first gathering. I wanted to go so bad, like you were saying, around the lunch table type of shit, just talking about this shit and be like, boy, wouldn't it be cool to be able to go? I finally, as an adult, went to my first ICP show in like 2018, fell in love with the shit. Was like, wow, this is like, there's something special about this. I think I need to go to the gathering. Brother.
Yeah.
I think I need to go. I think I need to experience like the full gathering. Like when I was 14 and I couldn't go. I can go now. I'm an adult. I can go now. So I went in 2019 to the super gathering, and it was like, you know, I was getting a little personal. I was still an alcoholic then, so I didn't have as much fun as I should have had because I was drinking so damn much. But when I went last year, I wasn't drinking anymore. And I don't know, man. I just feel like it really cemented like this is home in a way for me. And like I ran away from being a juggalo for so many years and like just being ashamed of it in a way. And like, there's no reason to be ashamed.
The music scene, you're going to get shit on for that. Like, you're into people who are into music.
And I do. Yeah, and I do get shit on. I get shit on
there's
a lot for it.
But there's, you know, someone's got to fill that niche. Who the fuck is going to carry on this thing? There's not that many artists, I feel like, in psychopathic. It's got to be carried on. It's so goddamn unique.
Exactly.
And that's what I'm getting to here. Like, I got a sense when I was at the gathering, man, a sense of cycles. Of always walking in circles, not sure where you're going, but the key is to enjoy every goddamn moment. I start thinking about like the imagery of, say, the tilt-a-whirl. You're going up and you're going down, and there's sights and there's sounds and there's colors and everything, but you got to remember, like Bill Hicks always said, it's just a ride.
Yes,
we're going through a cycle, and you're gonna die, and you just might come back, and you might get what you gave. I think that's very central to all of the Joker's cards, basically.
And, you know, I'll take a Hunter S. Thompson page there, a quote there, buy the ticket, you know, take the ride. You know, that's something that I use that quote for a lot of aspects of life. Buy the ticket, take the ride. And I feel like I've always felt like that Bill Hicks joke, not even really a joke. It's almost just a monologue. It's almost like a pep talk. That Bill Hicks bit though, I feel like is related to the Hunter S. Thompson quote, buy the ticket, take the ride. I feel like there's some inspiration there. I feel like there must be. But anyway, I relate a lot with what you just said. And it's the carnival is like you talking about walking around. I mean, that's basically my gathering documentary right there, brother, is me walking around just looking for cool shit, just looking for fresh shit to film and people to talk to, people who are like, hey, you, and I'm just like, hey, can I film this? And they're like, yeah, cool. And
that was so cool at the gathering. Nobody even cares. And I'm like, and we were going there with cameras and like, don't film this. Try to keep it on the DL. All this shit. Nobody gives a fuck. Everyone's into it. They want to come up and fucking talk to you. It's family.
Well, I'll tell you, in 2019, there were a couple of people that were a little salty at me. But you know, I just had to let them know, like, bro, I'm not like trying to film you do illegal things. Like, chill. Like, it's cool. There was a situation where I had my camera out and like I think someone was trying to press me about something, but then they noticed that I was smoking a blunt and they were like, "Oh, he's cool. Chill the fuck out." And like so it's like, but you know, I noticed this past year that's non-existent. There's cameras everywhere. People are filming damn near everything.
You have all the old school juggalos being like, "Fuck these YouTubers."
Yeah, I expect this year to be even crazier with the cameras. From 2019,
gotta document this shit, man.
Dude, there's gonna be cameras everywhere. There's gonna be cameras everywhere this year. It's gonna be madness. But I think it's a good thing. I think that this shit is so fucking weird and so fucking beautiful. Like you said, it has to be documented. And that's one of the reasons I wanted to do my shit. And that's one of the reasons I want to keep going and doing my shit, because I want to document this shit and highlight the things that I feel like should be highlighted in this culture and try to carry this culture forward, like you were talking about, man. We vibe on some of the similar shit with the philosophy of this Juggalo shit for sure.
Yeah, I see chat's getting it too. I dig that.
For sure. Wakanda definitely is on this wave for sure.
Back to the Dark Carnival a little bit. That is life. They say the Dark Carnival. They say that's God in the Wraith.
Yeah.
Right. So now I don't think the Insane Clown Posse's perception of God is very specific, because you don't have to follow any specific religion. There's no dogmas here. There's no dogma. It's much looser than that. It's like a much vaguer sense of karma. But I think the Dark Carnival is a recognition that life is the carnival. The world is your carnival, but it's a very dark and scary place. You can choose to be terrified of it and go hide from it, or you can ride that fucking ride and have a great goddamn time. And maybe there's a time for both.
And also, to me, it's also like the world is a dark and scary place, and you can choose to be a part of that darkness or stand kind of against it and be a sort of a contradictory light to that darkness, if you will. And because I do think a lot of ICP's music gets confused. I think a lot of the reason that ICP gets a bad rap is they hear ICP, like on Halls of Illusions, for example, when ICP's rapping about like your brother and your sister, the brother and the sister that's on crack and shit. Like someone who's hearing that for the first time might not understand Violent J's metaphor and might just be like, ew, these juggalos just are, this is what they're about. Like, and they don't even understand like what he's talking about. They just hear the surface level of something like that and sort of judge it. And I think that it's a kind of unfortunate in a way, because people just see it as like this glorification, and it's really not that. It's sort of showing a light to the darkness in the world and showing like you could be that, but we're really fighting against that if you're paying attention. Anyway, I kind of got off on a little bit of a tangent there.
No, I think that's very important. It's been said before, but I do think there's something very spiritual about it as well. When you take these ideas, it's like, yeah, I want to fucking kill you. I want to wring your fucking neck. Like that's something that hits us all, and we can't pretend we're above that. So what do? We let it hit us, pass over us, and we can go about our fucking day. They can go about their day, and we can both be happy. We can all be happy. You know, you have to accept those feelings. Like there is an animal inside of you. And I think that's one of the most beautiful things about the gatherings. That animal can come out. You can let off all of that steam. You name me one other fucking artist of any kind who is like to their fans, like, come here, do literally anything you want, no matter how illegal it might, barring violent crimes. You can do fucking anything you want. That there is something spiritual just in that. It is a religious ecstasy. Thornville is fucking Mecca to the Juggalos.
Yeah. It's a magical place.
To me too at this point.
It is a magical place. You can almost feel it when you go in those gates. I want to talk about though I've said this before. I think the gathering of the Juggalos is one of the only, like you were just hinting at, it was one of the only true places you can be free, maybe left in this country. Like where you can really go, there's places like Burning Man, you could say you could go and do stuff that other festivals, even you could go and do stuff, but there's certain elements of judgment at other festivals that like people will look at you a type of way.
Everybody's wearing their coolest clothes. They're all the Instagram stars. That shit can be lame.
I think there really is something to be said, like the pursuit of happiness. For me, that is a big part of my journey with Juggalodium, if you want to, how Violent J puts it. My pursuit of happiness and coming to realize, like, I made a video a couple years ago when I first started doing more YouTube stuff. The Insane Clown Posse makes me happy. And that really what it comes down to for me, man. Like, I realized, like, this silly shit just makes me so incredibly happy because it's just so many of the things that I love, and like coming to accept that was a big part of just being like, dude, just let like the things that make you happy in life, it isn't worth like being worried about what other people think about you because of that. Like just be fucking happy. Just enjoy those things while you can, because why would you be worried about what other people think about what makes you fucking happy?
And that gets even heavier when we're at the gathering and Violent J announces that he's got heart failure or whatever he's got going on. That who knows how many more of these things we're going to get. And they're going to put their all into fucking every single one they can. But like, now you hear that, and that's heavy when you're at the gathering. You're with all the Juggalos. You're on God knows what chemicals.
And then the last day, and it's like people are already kind of feeling those last day vibes anyway.
Yeah. So and then you hear a song like Dead Body Man. Which at face value it's like a gruesome song about like a mass murderer, but I think that can be taken like multiple ways. Like, I'm just a dead body man, and that's how we all are. We're all just bodies rotting away.
Yeah.
And like that is the cycle. And I think a lot of the imagery we see in all this Juggalo stuff in the Dark Carnival, it's very similar to Eastern mysticism in the way they use wheels and like a mandala to show like the cycles of life. Like that's how I see a lot of these carnival rides.
Yeah.
That's how I see the circle you walk at the gathering.
Yeah, we're getting back to that again, huh? Yeah, I see it. Yeah, I definitely see it, man.
So I have more Eastern shit on Eastern mysticism. Should I go into this?
Yeah, please do.
On this?
Please do. I'm loving it. I'm loving every second of this. This is great.
All right, so now I'm going to kind of go back and forth between some Wikipedia articles. I'm going to read some stuff about the Dark Carnival. I'm going to compare that to Eastern mysticism. So let's see where we go. And please cut in if you got any counter arguments, you got anything at all, please let's get this going. The Dark Carnival is described by hip-hop duo Insane Clown Posse in much of their discography. This concept, similar to the heaven and hell language of most major monotheistic religions, is the primary source of inspiration for the Insane Clown Posse's 2 series of albums called the Joker's Cards, which everybody knows. So now it's straight up. It's about life and death. It's like alluding to afterlife, but when you hear ICP talk, they'll say they don't really know about an afterlife. You know, they say they're humans, they're not prophets. They don't really have any specific feelings, but they want the best for you, feeling that there must be something more is the sense that I get. So when we're comparing this to heaven or hell, it's not in the Christian sense, I don't think. And I don't really think it's in a monotheistic sense. While they use the term God, it seems to point to something a little different than that, something more Eastern to me personally. So the Dark Carnival is where the souls face judgment based on their individual actions before being sent to heaven or hell. The concept was inspired by a dream of Insane Clown Posse member Violent J, where spirits in a traveling carnival appeared to him. Yeah. So now this is where we go to face the judgment before being sent to heaven or hell. That sounds a lot like being incarnated onto Earth to gather karma that will decide our next lives.
And that's, I think, such a big part of the Dark Carnival. Violent J talks a lot about karma in interviews, and I mean, one of his projects that's supposed to come out is called Karma Forest. But I think he's a big believer in manifest destiny, or The Secret, as I think he read The Secret is how he became. But I like to call it manifest destiny. But I'm a big believer in karma too. I'll be honest. I do think that the good things you put out in the world do come back to you, just because. It's just good things attract you if you're good, and if you're just a negative piece of shit, no one's going to want to be around a negative piece of shit, even if you just want to look at it on that base level. But needless to say, I do think that there is a deeper level where just like stuff happens. If you put good things out into the world, good things do come back to you, and vice versa. Shit, I once again forgot where I was going with that. But I do think karma, like you were saying, karma does feed into this so heavily. So I definitely I definitely think that is a big part of everything going on in the Dark Carnival. And once again, I think it's them trying to push you. Their music is trying to push you in a way to live a good life. Yeah. To try to be a good person, even in this world of shit. All this bad stuff is going on, but that doesn't mean you have to be a bad person.
If you can see family in your fellow juggalos, like you can theoretically see it in anyone.
That too, man. That too. And
I think that's a good lesson, and they get there. They get there, man. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I'm bringing up a lot of these like Eastern words, and it's like, do Violent J and Shaggy 2 Dope actually know anything about Buddhism, about Hinduism? It's like, well, probably not. But I'll tell you this: they have a lot of the influences I do. Whether it's like kung fu movies, pro wrestling, whether it's horror movies, or it's this, or that, you pick stuff up along the way. And I was not until later in my life was I a guy to sit there and like research religions. Now I do, but like I picked up a lot of these concepts just from like media around me that I thought was really heavy hitting, like really deep. So I think there is room like in all of that stuff to pick up some of these concepts. And I think that's where, like when I talk about something like samsara, for example, it is a Sanskrit word that means world. It is a concept of rebirth, the cyclicality of all life, matter, existence, a fundamental belief of most Indian religions. Popularly is the cycle of death and rebirth. Samsara is sometimes referred to with terms or phrases such as transmigration, karmic cycle, reincarnation, a cycle of aimless drifting, wandering, or mundane existence. Now, I think that is basically the Dark Carnival. And like then when I get to like cycle of aimless drifting and wandering, it's like I am back in Legend Valley. I'm walking in that circle, not knowing what the fuck I'm doing. But I think this is the place we go to have our fates decided. It's a placement test of sorts.
And it's you know, so talking about the whole speculation of have they researched any of this stuff, I've heard mixed things on that. So they definitely looked at some stuff during the Dark Lotus era, like when they were doing Dark Lotus stuff, they were definitely looking at some religious texts, whether it just be the, you know, quote unquote black magic or whatever they were looking at. They said they were looking at a Necronomicon. I don't know what that exactly means for them, but Mars, the rapper Mars, introduced them to a lot of this kind of stuff, and he was, I think, fucking around with some you know, more dark magic type of stuff. But anyway, they definitely were looking at religious texts, and I've heard it said that, you know, Egyptian lore goes a lot into this stuff. And what I find interesting is, like you said, whether they know or not type of thing. I find that so interesting. Like, it's almost more fascinating to me if they did it accidentally.
This concept of the cycle and the transmigration of souls and karma, I believe all of this stuff is perennial. I think in any culture, if left to its own devices, if given enough time, like it will come to many of these same conclusions. I truly believe that. And you're right. Through like Dark Lotus and stuff, it's obvious that they were reading stuff like that. But then it's also like they've been into the paranormal and the occult and conspiracies all this time. It's like you're gonna pick up some of these concepts. They're going to be ingrained in you because they are like archetypal is maybe the word. It's in your brain. It's in all of us. It's just waiting to come out. And I think the Dark Carnival is just a beautiful expression of like real grassroots. I want to call it religion, but like it's like a mysticism. It's a spirituality.
So Spooky the Fun Guy made an interesting point here about Jump Steady that I just wanted to touch on here. I know for a fact Jump Steady definitely fed some of these concepts into Violent J's mind. Maybe even for, like he said, from being in the military in Iraq. I wonder about that too. But Jump Steady definitely plays an influence on Violent J. Because there's so much of that. I just think about the D&D type of verbiage in some of this stuff. That I know Jump Steady wrote some of that in the liner notes. But I feel like that has to have an influence in some ways. Some of Jump Steady's more just nerdiness on some of this stuff, which is obviously also sort of inspired by some of these religious texts. So it's like that like we're talking about that circle coming around, like other parts of culture bleeding in and inspiring them, whether they know or not. Like it's coming around to them. And you know, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking of a song called Rolling Over. I don't know if you're familiar with an ICP song called Rolling Over.
I'm not as familiar as I should be.
So it's from an interesting time period in ICP's discography. After they finished the first 6, they decided they almost tried to rebrand themselves as Paranormal Clowns, in my opinion. And they did the Tempest, they did the Calm, and the Eye of the Storm, like an album and 2 EPs. There's a song, I forget which one it's on. It's on one of these 3 projects called Rolling Over. I listen to that song, especially with some of the stuff we're talking to, man. I feel like it really ties into some of this stuff because it's about what we're talking about. We're rolling over, like it's time rolling. It's kind of, I think you would be kind of wig flipped with some of the stuff we're talking about tonight.
You're right. I have gone over multiple songs like looking for this sort of thing that I'm getting at. And I always find it. And I don't know if that's me, and I don't think it is because it always comes up. But just in Tilt-A-Whirl, and like you would know better than me. I wish I could just think of the lyrics off the top of my head. Like as
walk out the door, it says chicken.
Walk out the door, it's as real as it gets from the sky to the floor. I think that sums up everything I'm saying here. It's like, okay, this is like a whole mysticism. There's all this lore here. It's basically a religion, but it's not about which god you choose or specific things. It doesn't matter exactly what you believe. It's like, go outside and touch that grass and realize you're alive right now. Now go make the best of it.
Yeah. Yeah, man. God, I love that. Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I couldn't agree more, really. Because that's been my journey with this. And it's so funny. I was talking about the Wraiths Shangri-La and how I pushed away really hard with that album because of the surprise ending, the twist ending of The Carnival is God and my relationship with God. Now, like, and with me getting sober from alcohol, that album was so important to me. And like, and realizing that like perspective on life is so important. And like, if you look at life negatively, you will see negative things. And if you look at life more positive, you will see positive things. And when I started re-listening to that album with a more positive perspective, I loved it so much more, man. And it's one of my favorite ICP albums. Like,
I think
in the first deck.
The fact of the matter is, like, I'm sure they had an extremely hard time figuring out how to end their first series of Joker cards.
Yeah.
They promised this thing. They didn't know what the fuck they were doing. You get to the end and it's like, all right, well, we want to express something good. We believe in, I don't know, God, sure. And it's like, how do we word this in a way that won't turn everybody off? Turned you off.
Mm-hmm.
But it's like, I don't know how you use these words. And I believe these concepts are best left unsaid for the most part, unless people actually want to learn more about them. I think the most important thing that ICP does is like set an example and like give that space and be like, look, this is all yours and run with it. And it's like, I don't require anything more than to be a good person. And the reality is, for most people, and this isn't just juggalos, like most people in general, they're not going to get the deeper concepts. Like, they just have to be guided in the right direction. And that's the most important thing that leaders can do.
Yeah. And you know, you say that too. I feel like I didn't get the stuff too. And like, I wasn't ready. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't ready at the time to accept some of those messages maybe that were in that. And, you know, there's the whole thing of like people, they say, you know, he even says it in, we snuck this stuff in with all that wicked shit around it. He says in Thy Unveiling. And I think at the time of me being a dumb teenager and just, I was just attracted to just the straight wicked shit. I just wanted to hear violence for the sake of violence.
Oh, it was the 90s, brother.
That. Yeah. I didn't see that. I didn't see some of those things underneath. And so maybe that's me pushing back like so hard, like is like almost overcompensating for that. And my whole, you know, relationship with God on top of it being another thing. I don't know, man. It's definitely really fascinating to me because I've heard it said before, you know, the whole thing with these Joker's cards is that each Joker's card is almost a stage of your life, and you will, when you're ready for it, you will get it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, and there's people that don't fuck with certain Joker's cards, and I think it's just because, like, there's people that don't like Hell's Pit, for example, and I don't think like that's a bad thing if you don't like Hell's Pit, because to me, I'm like, good. Yeah, you know what? Good that you don't relate to that album. Because to me, it's almost like a bad thing. Like if you relate too much with that, because I was in a really dark place and I related with that album a lot. Like, and that album helped me a lot. But at the same time, I'm like reflecting on that and reflecting on the reasons I like Wraiths Shangri-La now. It's like, it really is like two sides of the same coin in a way, where it is this place where I was in a really dark space, but it helped me. And then I was in a really good space, and it also helped me. Yeah, I don't know. It really is interesting how the album's themes do apply. Like I do agree with you, by the way, that they totally were flying by the seat of their pants with this shit. Don't get that shit twisted.
That's the best part.
Yeah. God, I don't know. The whole shit is just so fascinating to me, and just the fact they accomplished it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Just
these guys are heroes to me, to be able to build a whole brand and a whole community and all this shit just from nothing, from the ground up by themselves, with very, very little help along the way.
Yeah.
They're heroes of mine for that.
Me too. Big time, man.
So I do think all of the Joker's Cards albums and like all of ICP's content, it's like parables, the way Jesus would talk, the way he would tell stories. And it didn't mean what it said on face value. And sometimes you wouldn't get it until later, until you were ready. And I think that's what the Joker's Cards are.
I agree. I think there's deeper meaning to certain songs too. I really like the Dead Body Man stuff that you were going on there. I think certain songs are like the metaphorical power of some of their songs, I think, get lost sometimes. Because there is great metaphorical power in art, and some of their metaphors are insane. Like they really go pretty fucking hard with their concepts and their storytelling. Like you said, the parable. I really love that you call them parables too. Yeah, man, we vibe on this shit. So I love this conversation.
Yeah.
Jesus Christ, you got my brain just going in different areas.
Dude, all this Dark Carnival stuff is dying for the deep lore. Like, if you ask people specifics about it, it's not really out there. It's like a feeling on the tip of everyone's tongue, but you can't really get specifics about it. And I feel like there's never, what better time than now to flesh that out. And I think that would be a really important thing if we could do that. That's why I'm here. That's why I'm speaking in front of juggalos who can vibe on it.
Yeah, I like that. I mean, I like that. I'm obsessed with the story and the lore, like you said, of all of this stuff. Because it needs to be preserved. And I think there's no one else that's going to do it except for maybe these weirdos like us who are on YouTube talking about it. Oh, man.
You might be right about that.
Yeah.
So let's go through the Joker's cards and see what the hell they have to say real quick.
Yeah, I'm with it. Let's do it, man.
The first Joker's card, Carnival of Carnage, is a representation of the ghetto and the violence that occurs within. It takes the form of a traveling carnival which doles out the same brutality on those who have ignored the inner city's cries for help. The card issues a warning against the upper class and government's negligence toward the lower class. This is flat out karma. Mm-hmm. Carnival of Carnage is about karma. It's very simple, and it's a great way to start if you were going to lay out this whole belief system. Who knows if that's done on purpose, but goddamn is it effective. It's literally like you will receive what you give in this world. So we move on to the Ringmaster, described as the overseer of the Dark Carnival, will judge you on whether or not you will enter heaven or hell. The Ringmaster is the embodiment of your own sins. He judges you by fighting you. The more bad things you have done, he grows and becomes stronger. The more good things you have done, the weaker he is. Violent J said this about him to Rolling Stone. The Ringmaster was where the Joker cards became a little more clear. The Ringmaster is a beast that you have to fight when you die, and the size of that beast is based upon how you've lived your life. Sins you've done make the Ringmaster larger and more deadly, and the good things you've done, the peaceful ways you've lived your life, make it weaker and smaller. The question is, when you die and you have to face your Ringmaster, would you be able to defeat him, or would he just crush you or dominate you? I believe this is the ego which needs to be kept in check. The ego right now occupies a central position that controls and dominates our lives. Buddhism tells us to give it a position of minister or advisor. It's unquestionable that we all have a name, beliefs, and customs, but if the ego dominates us, then what we'll be doing is giving it a fixed identity. Fixed identity as in you are making it stronger. This thing that you are supposed to be keeping in check is getting stronger and stronger. However, if we put it in its rightful place, we'll have more freedom from conditioning and therefore be happier people. So you can't do without your ego. You need it to survive in a material plane. So you have to keep it in check so that it can be used for its purpose, which is like discernment and living your life the right way. If it becomes out of check, it is a ravenous beast, an animal that's going to destroy you. Just like the Ringmaster, the beast that you have to face that is equal to your own vanity.
And I like talking about the ego with the Insane Clown Posse, because I do think that they tried really hard to change how ego and is perceived in rap music. The Violent J talks about this in interviews at times, how, part of what's fresh about them being clowns is he can go out on stage and he can fuck up and fall right on his face, fuck up his lyrics, and it doesn't fucking matter because he's a clown.
We should live our lives.
They purposefully, instead of talking about how fresh their lives are, how they have mansions, all that kind, they purposefully make themselves look like losers. They go out of their way a lot of times to make themselves look like losers, and they glorify it, and almost like a flipping of the script of like, you guys are doing that, well, let's do that, and almost trying to reverse that. I really appreciate that too, as it's one of my biggest things about them is the way that they tried to change it, like really actively tried to change it. And, I think it worked to some extent.
Oh yeah. Oh God, yeah. I think that's undeniable. But the ability to see a niche like that takes not only the discernment to see it, but also the lack of ego, like you said, to act silly like that, to be that goofball, and that niche is there. I think a lot of people's failings if they can't embrace that stuff.
Yeah, like because, and also, I think a lot of this stuff does come from. I say this all the time. there's a lot of little kid energy in ICP. There is like Shaggy Two Dope is a great example. Shaggy Two Dope to me is a giant little kid. The way he behaves, he's just a big kid to me. And I feel like so much of ICP's fun. It's just it's you know, and it goes into the pursuit of happiness thing a little bit. It feels like you're being a kid a little bit again. Like you don't have to worry about some of these things.
Dude, imagine being able to hire Tito Santana and Greg Valentine to have a cage match. Like they're action figures. Like these, like the match ain't gonna. They're as stiff as the action figures at this point.
You're nailing. They're getting to play with human action figures, human wrestling figures. They got the budget to do it.
Dream.
And they're living out their dreams. And you know, that's what's cool about the gathering of dreams concept is, you know, so much of this stuff is the whole carnival provides idea that feeds into karma. And also I want to touch on real quick. I do think that the ringmaster thing, that's karma a little bit. The whole idea of you're fighting your mistakes. Yes. You know what I mean?
That overarching idea is ever present on all of the Joker's cards, as far as I'm concerned.
And the next one, Riddle Box, same, almost the same concept, but flipped a little bit, like a different version of the same concept.
So the third Joker's card, the Riddle Box, is another entity used to determine fate. Upon death, the soul enters a dark chamber containing a jack-in-the-box and on an old wooden table. The front of the box is a painted question mark, faded with time, representing the mystery of your own afterlife. As the handle is turned, a melodic tune begins to play. When the music stops, the decision is revealed. The pure see a vision of God, warming their souls as they enter the eternal peace. The wicked see an immense fog seeping from the box, stripping their sanity as they witness an image of hell spawned and formed from their own evil, a hideous reflection of their demented souls. The floor falls from underneath them, casting the doomed into the bottomless pit of hell. The fate revealed by the Riddle Box can be found by looking deep within yourself and can be changed with righteous actions. So supposedly, after death, messengers of Yama, who is the god of death in Hinduism, and you can see it that way in Buddhism too, the messengers called Yamadutas bring all beings to the court of Yama, where he weighs the virtues and the vices of the beings and passes a judgment, sending the virtuous to heaven and the sinners to the hells.
Yeah.
The stay in heaven or hell is generally described as temporary. After the quantum of punishment is over, the souls are reborn as lower or higher beings, as per their merits, which I think is exactly the ideas that are going on here to a T.
Yeah, that's I mean, yeah. And once again, the secular nature of it all, it's I think it's so fascinating. I feel like they must have studied it, but then it's at the same time, it's like maybe they didn't. It's just weird coincidence. And I think there's so much coincidence that goes into this carnival shit. Like when I'm at the gathering, and you know, I could be reading into it for whatever reason. But I do feel like there is an increased amount of odd coincidences that are happening.
I'll read into whatever the fuck I want on a 10 strip acid all day long.
Yeah. You got what I was putting down on. But I mean,
I'm shameless, brother.
But I mean, at a certain point, it does get to be like, well, that is kind of crazy though. Like that I was just thinking about you, and then I turned around and you were standing right there. Like stuff like just weird little things like that. You know that
absolutely.
I don't know. It at a certain point they start to stack up to the point where you're like, this is kind of overwhelming. There's so much weird kind of just serendipitous shit happening where it's like, it does feel magical. Anyway,
I'll interject there with the idea of Shangri-La. Shangri-La being the heaven in all of the Juggalo lore. Now Shangri-La is a word that I have it in my notes somewhere. It came up in a novel written in 1933. If I can find this real quick. Here we go. So, 1933 novel Lost Horizon by British author James Hilton. And that's where Shangri-La comes from. But it's based on the idea of Shambhala, which is like the Buddhist location of the next Messiah. It isn't on Earth. It's like a spiritual kingdom, but it does actually exist. It's hard to explain, but it is like heaven on earth. Like some people say it's like in the earth, all sorts of crazy ideas governed by this messianic figure. So like when they talk about Shangri-La, like it's directly related to all of that stuff too. I don't remember why I brought that up, but it felt important.
No, it's there's just so much stuff that it's pretty fucking mind-blowing, man. Shangri-La is like an interesting concept too, because, you know, it's an obvious heaven parable, but it's the idea that the wicked, you know, the whole wicked and the good thing, you know, it really, man, I don't know where I'm really going with this, but
it's heavy, dog. Move on to the next Joker's card.
Overwhelmed a little bit here, I'll be honest.
Hell yeah, that's what I want.
Geesh. This is good stuff, man. This is really good stuff. Let's just go on. Let's keep going to Great Malenko.
Let's do it.
Yeah,
I do. I'm ready. Great Malenko, the 4th Joker's card, and he is an illusionist and necromancer that acts on dead minds rather than dead spirits. His purpose is to try to trick individuals into greed and other lesser sins. He identifies the worst in an individual and creates powerful illusions in an attempt to cause them to become hedonistic and greedy. The Great Malenko is present within every person, and an honorable individual must fight his magic in order to make it to heaven. This reminds me of the concept of Maya in Eastern religions, which is literally illusion or magic. So it is the idea that the whole of reality that you see is just a magic show, an illusion where things appear to be present but are not what they seem. And it is all of these physical constructs that keep you tied to this mortal plane, that keep you going through these cycles. You know, walk in the circle, fucking pushing the boulder up the hill, doing all this shit over and over again. Like, this is where all the things that tempt you come from. So the principle which shows attributeless absolute as having attributes. So saying, like, this is how God, the absolute, expresses itself. Maya also connotes that which is constantly changing and thus is spiritually unreal, in opposition to an unchanging absolute or God, and therefore conceals the true character of spiritual reality. So there's like a veil, there's a strange magic over the truth, but it's using all of these different tricks to tempt you, which are sex and food and drugs and all of these things. And like that's what Maya does, and I think that's what the Great Malenko is.
At this point, you know, I have to say, these descriptions are making me think like how these concepts are evolving over time. You know, they're almost like it's a very transformative. So like Carnival of Carnage is a very generalized concept, and then so we get to the Ringmaster, where that concept grows to the point where it's literally growing, and you're going to be fighting this concept. But it's still sort of like there's some mystery to it. And then we go to the Riddle Box, where that mystery is like literal, quite literal. There's a question mark, and you don't know what you're gonna get, but you do know that you're gonna get a surprise. Then we go to the Great Malenko, where there's this illusion, and you're really not sure what you're going to get. And then so I'm gonna get kind of crazy here. You go to the Jekyll brothers now. What's interesting about Jekyll brothers is this is where that duality starts to happen. Jekyll brothers splits, and it's the same album, right? But you have clearly one who's happy, clearly one who's mad or sad, however you want to look at it. And they're throwing fire, but you know, they're juggling fire. So it's going up or down, up or down. Now, the next album is the 6th. And instead of doing,
since you did it so well, I have to cut in here. The Jekyll brothers is the yin yang. It is the yin yang.
Very obviously, right? But it is the same thing. You know what? It's the same piece of art. The Amazing Jekyll Brothers album is the same piece of art, no matter what cover you get. You know what I mean?
This is the yin yang, brother.
But the Wraith, Shangri-La, and the Wraith Hell's Pit are completely different albums with similar covers, once again, but they're very different albums. Now at that point, you're at the end of the saga. So at that point, you've made your decision. It's the end. You've made your decision. You either went the good route, you threw your ball in the air, or you went the bad route, you dropped your ball, and you went to Hell's Pit. You know what I mean?
Yes.
I don't know if that makes any fucking sense. I'm speaking in very generalized terms, but
no, I think you're totally with me now. You laid down the Jekyll Brothers thing to a T. I think the balls that are going, like you see that in the yin yang. There are the two circles that are and
it's
apart
the circle.
from,
and it's the circle again too, by the way.
Yeah, dude. Every time, I'm telling you. I'm telling you, bro. But yeah, you nailed that, and I think you're right about the Wraith too. You know, and this isn't difficult stuff, but I think really what's so interesting is how deep you can go with it.
Yeah.
So yeah, the 6 Jokers card, the Wraith, a personification of death. The card features 2 exhibits, Shangri-La and Hell's Pit, which were each given their own album. You said all this shit already, so why bother reading it?
No,
so
that's cool.
I think
please keep going.
The Wraith is Yama. He is the god of death. Yama is the Hindu god of death and justice and is responsible for the dispensation of law and punishment of sinners in his abode, Yama Loka. Yama is also one of the oldest deities in the pantheon, and some of his earliest appearances are found in the Rig Veda. So it goes way back. It's like deep within the Hindu tradition. Yama Loka, I think, is Hell's Pit. Now the Wraith, and now I don't know if I'm let me know if I'm spurging out here. Does the Wraith have any dominion over Shangri-La?
So it's the Wraith Shangri-La. So it's like the way they're described is it's 2 exhibits, right? So it's the Wraith Shangri-La. That's the first album. And so that the idea being is the Wraith will take your hand to heaven, or the Wraith will take your hand to Hell's Pit, from what I understand. So he wanted to give you 2 versions of what your end could be.
Mm-hmm.
So what the first one they gave you heaven first, and then they did hell. The Hell's Pit album. And what I find you read the behind the scenes stories about these albums too. I find it so fucking fascinating that they were in the best part of their career, like a really good space. Violent J was healthy. They were running in the mornings when they made Shangri-La, and then they like dark shit was just going on in both of their lives during Hell's Pit. Shaggy was at the height of his alcoholism. Jay was like was getting fat again, his addiction to food, possibly other things, purely speculation, but like it was a bad time in their lives. So it's just interesting, you know, the whole life imitates art type of thing. It's interesting though that their lives changed at that point where they were creating these pieces of art.
I mean, I've felt that in my own life. Like I've done streams on like victims of gang stalking, which is essentially, it's usually just schizophrenics who are going mad, like streaming their entire lives and every insane thing they do. But it's like, we've done like deep dives for hours on people like that over at Yakklebee's Bar and Grill and Tape Eaters. And
by the way, please go check out this man's content. You got great content, man. I have checked your stuff out.
Did you the audience suddenly sees shit like that, and it's immediately divisive, and like there's some stupid drama going on, and like when you're working on that negative shit, when you're really taking it in, it does take a toll on you. That is the price of being an artist, really.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's something that I had to deal with in my personal life, creating fucking, you know, horror shit, you know, and going too deep into certain concepts, and yeah, you dwell on that shit for too long. It does fuck you up a little bit, man. Especially if you're drinking a shitload like I was. But anyway, enough of my bullshit. So I was talking a little bit about Hell's Pit and how I do feel like that album did save me in a way, because I was in such a dark spot in my life when I was, you know, kind of discovering that album and using that album to sort of bring myself out of the dark place in my life. And that album still, you know, it's a weird album for me because I do like to go back to it and listen to it. I like songs on that album, but I do kind of understand when people are like, I don't like that album. You know what I mean? Like, I don't fuck with that shit. There's shouts out to Bartle Boss on Bartle Boss and the Dead Guy. He always makes fun of the Hell's Pit album. And I've told him this before. I'm like, bro, I think it's maybe a good thing that you're in a place in your life where you don't like Hell's Pit. Like, maybe you should feel blessed that you don't like Hell's Pit.
One thing about ICP, and I say this very frankly and very respectfully, is that ICP albums, they're not like start to finish like the best albums I've ever heard in my life.
Oh yeah,
like, there's shit I'm gonna skip. There's
too.
A lot of fluff, but the thing is, when we can talk about something like this for an hour, going over like an overarching message that they've been telling for decades, it's like, well, maybe they didn't all have to be hits because they were doing something much bigger.
Yeah, and ICP is so interesting, you know, and I think that's there's a stream they did recently that on their Patreon, on their Twitch shit, where they showed their creative process. Basically, I don't know if this was gimmicked up or whatever, but they showed allegedly them creating and writing and recording a song in like 42 songs in like 2 45-minute periods. I thought that was really eye-opening because they're really efficient with song creation. If this is to be believed, that they actually from top to bottom created 2 songs in an hour and a half, it was pretty crazy to see. I think I don't want to, once again, I don't want to be disrespectful. I do think there are times when they've approached music making like a job. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they have,
they
like,
had to.
we gotta finish this album. We got so many songs we gotta finish. Let's do this shit. And maybe some of the times those songs weren't the best shit that they could have been putting out, but we got to do this shit.
They made like such an art form out of churning out music. And the thing is, like, they made so many bangers too. And even in the songs that, like, you know, I don't think of very often, like the beats are usually dope as hell. And it's like, yeah, dude, with the amount of content that they've given, like, they have every pass in the world. And every album has like a few like really memorable hits that, like, I'll be banging till the day I die. More than I can say about most bands, really.
Yeah. Man, goddamn, this has been a fucking great stream, man.
Yeah,
I had another place I wanted to go with that. I'm getting a little distracted by the chat here. Jeez. So was there anything? So let's get back to the experience itself. Was there anything overtly paranormal about the experience where you, like, I don't know.
I don't know that I ever used the word paranormal. I might have said I'm a paranormal. Okay, I
probably was reading a little bit too into that in my excitement, because I do feel like to me, it was almost a paranormal experience being at the gathering this past year.
It was. And I do agree with that completely. And there was, like, it was the constant synchronicity. It's when now ICP is doing this set. I'm noticing this like second meaning to all of their songs suddenly, like, and in the light of Violent J's Condition, he's singing like Take Me Away, and it's hitting me on a whole other goddamn level.
The moment I feel like that hit everybody on Saturday after the announcement during the performances when he did Falling Apart. And, you know, to me, I've always looked at Falling Apart as the metaphor there is pretty fucking strong and obvious to me. Like, yeah, this is a guy who knows his time is limited and that he will eventually fall apart. And boy, just with that announcement, it hit way different, because you know that this is a guy whose time is limited. And, you know, it's a very sobering moment, I think, for a lot of people in the fucking crowd. And I looked around and there were people fucking straight up crying during that song.
Dude,
it was a very emotional moment.
I go to something like this. It ain't me who spent my entire life dedicated to it. I'm sorry to say that. Like, I really enjoyed it for what it was worth. But, like, some of these people, their entire lives revolve around it. We got to have something. We got to keep it moving. What the fuck's going to happen, you know? And, like, everyone's going to want this shit to live on forever. And it's got to do that. So, in light of all that, what are some of your plans for the gathering to do it as good as you possibly can? Can I ask that?
Well, first of all, I'm definitely filming. I'm going to be trying to film a bunch of content. I definitely have some plans on doing some fun things as far as filming stuff differently. I hope to perform. I haven't gotten any chances. I haven't gotten any emails as far as like any official slots or whatever, but I'm trying to perform at parties and shit. And I'm just trying to meet people and have a good time and have some really good conversations, honestly. To me, so much of the fun I had last year was in good conversation. And I'm looking to do a lot more of that this year. And hopefully there's a lot of dope artists, because I do fucking vibe with so many of the artists that they end up picking for.
I'm dying to see, and they got like nothing on the site. And I don't care who it is. I'm not going to judge here, dude. Vanilla Ice was one of the best acts I've ever seen in my life, dude.
Dude, the sound. So I was down there. I've told this story countless times, but I'll tell it again. I was down there when he was sound checking earlier in the day, Vanilla Ice, and he was spending so much time sound checking shit that I made a mental note. I'm like, oh, this shit gonna be lit. Like, he's spending way too much time sound checking every single aspect of his set. And sure enough, best sound of the whole fucking weekend. To
Dude,
me, I
and
thought
that was
sound
the most
killer.
shocking thing. And ICP, and I was saying this about ICP, was that was the best sounding concert I've ever heard in my entire life. I can't
Really great sound
believe
system.
how they achieved that just outside like that. You know, fucking sound just escapes into the atmosphere at that point. But no, it was so fucking on point. Yeah, I plan to do
feel
it.
that shit in the ground too at times, man.
Yeah, so good.
Oh, it's such oh God, I can't wait.
I plan to do it all right, dude. We fucked up last time. We got like the worst campsite possible, the worst tents possible, the little crack tents that are just falling over out on the outskirts of the whole goddamn thing, surrounded by generators, none of them ours. It was a fucking nightmare.
So much noise then.
I fucking scored the goddamn car pass. I'm gonna get in there with the fucking wedding tent. I'm gonna fucking LEDs all over that motherfucker. Inflatable furniture in that bitch. The whole fucking Skinwalker gang is gonna be there. Whoop whoop.
Yo, you got a whole plan. So I'm actually gonna be trying to camp. I think this time I have. I did hotel gathers last year, because I fucked up my first year really bad. This is embarrassing, but I'll go ahead and tell it. We got in kind of late the first day in 2019, and we panicked, and we ended up picking a spot that at the time I thought would be kind of a dope idea by one of the bathrooms, right? Not porta potties, not mind you, not porta potties, but a bathroom.
Yeah.
What ended up happening though is by the last day, that motherfucker was so sour.
Dude, I would imagine that they're worse than the porta potties. The porta potties get cleaned.
It was unbearable that last day.
I thought the porta potties were fucking stellar, to be totally honest, except for the ones by the stage.
Not bad.
They were fine. They were just fine.
This year, I was actually kind of surprised about, but what ended up happening is we ended up panicking and going to get a hotel for the last day only.
See, I've been to some festivals when it's like those things are leveled off, brother. Not a drop more.
Yeah.
This was not that. It was way better.
This past year they were pretty good, actually. That I'll have to say, because in 2019 every porta potty was a nightmare that I went into. Every single one was a nightmare. But shit. Yeah, so I'm definitely camping. That's where I was going with that. I'm definitely trying to get the camping experience in more, and just get the full vibes more. You know what I mean?
It's worth it, man. It's worth it. The stories I came away with just over the nonsense. One of our plans was like go with one of our homies. We'd all have like air horns, and every time he tries to sleep, right in his fucking ear, and we'd get it all on film. Him progressively getting more and more angry, but that discomfort is like part of it. I had some special sleeping medication that I was using at the time, made it nice and easy. But oh man, it was a blast. I cannot wait. I'm right with you, dude. I'm like a little kid thinking about this shit. And for like 3 months after the gathering, it's all I can think about. Fucking 3 months, 4 months leading up to it, all I can fucking think about.
This conversation has really probably made me more excited about it than anything. I would say, because now it's like it's getting so close, and just thinking about the magic again. You know what I mean? That feeling of wandering. Just that wandering, man. I'm a big fan of wandering. I'll be straight up. It's one of my favorite things about the gathering. I said earlier, it's one of the reasons I wanted to make my gathering documentary. Is I just wanted to walk around, because the freshest shit to me, the freshest shit that I saw out of the gathering of the Juggalo documentaries was always just talking to Juggalos.
I agree.
Seeing the layout of that motherfucker. I was like, I just want to go and walk around and film shit. And so that's what if you watch my movie, that is what I do. And I can't wait to do more of that now, because I know that I'm not, and that's the other thing, going into the gathering your first time, even my second time, I'm a little apprehensive. I don't know if I'm fully accepted. You know what I mean? You hear stories about certain things happening, and you don't know, like, oh, is it really? Am I going to get bullshit for this?
How about that? Me and my homies were walking around the fucking parking lot, walked by some people, show us your butthole through the bullhorn. Will not show them the butthole. These guys are cops! They're cops! This is a parking lot full of drug dealers, mind you.
But what I just wanted to get to real quick is I didn't encounter any negativity, at all.
No real negative.
The whole gathering, man. Like, everybody who spoke to me kindly and very respectfully and lovingly, and it was just nothing but welcoming vibes. You know what I mean?
Oh yeah.
It was
even in the showers, brother.
I've never experienced something like that.
Me either. It was something else. And I've been to a lot of festivals, but none like that. That was like another experience, a spiritual experience. It really was. And I can't wait to do it all again. Tuesday night, I'm getting there. Fucking parking lot party, motherfucker. Try to make a week of this bitch.
I'm gonna have to try to get there earlier. I think I took the Tuesday off too, because I realized, oh shit, they made Wednesday an official day now. So I think I added that extra day off from fucking work so I could get there even earlier.
Gotta get there Tuesday night.
I have to be there. I think I have to be there on Tuesday because it's like now that's the parking lot party, like you're saying.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah. I'm so glad. I had some inside knowledge. Someone hit me up like, dude, I've been to these things. You got to get there early.
Oh yeah. It's definitely worth it to go to the parking lot parties because I mean, last year the vibe that feels like the first night. It really does feel like the first night because it's like setup night. It's like I don't know. I can't wait, bro. This conversation got me hyped. All right, man. Is there anything else that we could touch on to wrap this up? I think we went through the first deck of Joker's cards, so I think that's a really good way to.
Yeah. I think I have something I can kind of close that out with.
Let's do it.
So the Dark Carnival acts as a way to remind people of the repercussions of their individual actions in a language that today's world will understand and listen to. The themes of God's presence and the final judgment of individuals are explored in multiple Insane Clown Posse songs. Joseph Bruce remarked that the ending of the Joker's cards, the way we looked at it, was death, heaven and hell. That's up to each and every Juggalo to decide. I think what he's saying is you're going to die. Then there's going to be something on the other side. And the way you treated people in this life will have a direct effect on that. I think that is the message. And that's the most important thing of all, the golden rule.
Try to be good. Just try to be good to others, man. I think really at the end of the day, just try to be a decent person. And like, because, and that's what I love that metaphor earlier in the stream where you said, being nice to other Juggalos is almost like a lesson in a mini version of being nice to everybody, learning to be nice to everybody.
Dude, I whoop everybody for, like I said, 4 months after the gathering. Brother, everyone's still getting the whoop.
That's so dope you say that because that's the weirdest thing about returning to the regular world, if you will, after the gathering is I walk around the grocery store and I want to whoop motherfuckers. Just random dudes. I think next year, I'm going to start just doing that when I come back and just not suppress the urge. Because like we were talking about, we really only do live once. So why let whack ass society tell me I can't whoop a motherfucker in the grocery store if I want to?
Exactly.
Shit. All right. Well, I think that's a good way to fucking wrap this up, man.
Yeah, I agree. I will shill my shit. How about that?
Yeah, please shill away.
Hit me up on Twitter at Skinwalker Gang, Yakklebees.com to check out my podcast, Yakklebees Bar Plus Grill, on YouTube, youtube.com/c/Yakov and patreon.com/Yakov. You want to come hang out in my Discord? We watch wrestling. We talk about religion. We fucking listen to dope ass music. You know how it be. And reach out to me if you want to fucking hang out and get some of this at the fucking gathering. Reach out to me. Hit me up on Twitter.
We should definitely be trying to hang out at the gathering. Yeah, I want to get you in my documentary. I want to talk to you at the gathering.
Dude, I am in your documentary from last year.
You are?
Yeah, just for like a moment in the corner. Me and my homie are fucking in the crowd. God. Yeah, dude, believe me, I watched that thing with a fucking fine-tooth comb, being like, I'm in there somewhere, motherfucker. And I was, surely.
That's so fresh. Well, we got to get you talking. We got to get you talking on that motherfucker.
Oh, I'm going to have the bullhorns, so don't worry about that.
Oh, I'm with that. All right, man. Whoop. Whoop. I hope to do, and I see some people said that they had some paranormal experiences. Ulrich said he's seen UFOs before. Ulrich, I want to get you on to talk about the UFO stuff. We're going to do more paranormal shit on here.
I talk about Bigfoot a lot on my channel. FYI,
I'm all streamed out for the night. I've already been streaming for
hours left to go. Go over to my fucking YouTube, youtube.com/c/Yakov Live. We're going live soon.
Go to Yakov's YouTube.
Fuck yeah.
If you're thirsty for the streams. All right, brother. Thank you so much, man. This was fucking great.
My pleasure.
Whoop, whoop.
Whoop, whoop.
And broadcast. If it's going to end, bro. This fucking thing is so slow. Okay.